You're tuning in to the O&P Check-in, an SPS podcast. I'm Brendan Erickson, a regional sales manager at SPS. This show brings you the latest happenings in the O&P industry. We're unpacking trends and news from this tight-knit orthotics and prosthetics community. Co-hosting with me today is SPS sales account manager and my friend, Stephen Hunter.
Hey man, glad to be here.
Absolutely. Let's get started.
Ottobock's new Taleo Adapt takes the trusted Taleo family of feet to the next level of mobility. With its integrated hydraulic ankle offering 12 degrees of motion, your patients experience a smoother, more natural ride, even on slopes and hills. The Taleo base delivers the ideal balance of shock absorption, energy return, and simple alignment for an easier fit. Discover the new 1C59 Taleo Adapt today, backed by our 60-day satisfaction guarantee. Visit spsco.com to learn more. If you need to earn CEU credits, click on over to SPS University. With over 15 courses, choose from topics ranging from microprocessor feet and knees to AFOs and KAFOs and more. Open an SPS University account today by selecting the Resources tab on spsco.com to get started.
Hello, listeners. Today we have the privilege of speaking with Surestep's Director of Sales and Certified Orthotist, Rob Novak. He's here to share with us insight into the world of pediatric orthoses. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you for having me today. Glad to join.
Absolutely, man. Let's get going. So this is how we normally start. Could you please share just a bit about yourself and what led you to work in the O&P profession?
Sure. I started in motion analysis. So went to grad school, was doing 3D motion analysis with children with neuromuscular dysfunction, and got an opportunity to go to Children's Memorial Hospital in Chicago. They had 3D motion capture and force plates, and that's where I started to do some clinical motion analysis and clinical decision-making for the Department of Orthopedic Surgery. As I got exposed to these types of patients that we were examining, I got introduced to the field of orthotics and prosthetics, because most of the patients that go through the motion analysis laboratory for us at a children's hospital have some type of neuromuscular dysfunction, and they wear braces. And that's where it all started. One day, the white room of motion analysis became too confining, and I wanted to get my hands dirty and get more involved in direct patient care, and an opportunity of orthotics and prosthetics was available to me, and I've never looked back.
That's awesome.
All right, to get into today's topic, what are some of the biggest challenges clinicians face when fitting orthotics for children?
To me, the hardest thing that I had to learn and to be patient with was the array of diagnoses that you might have with children. And it'll depend on where you practice across the United States or across the world. If you're exposed to, in my case, a children's hospital where you're in a large metropolitan area, there's a lot of different diagnoses that come to this hospital. There's a lot of different diagnoses that aren't very prevalent in society. And you start to learn how to treat children that present with certain diagnoses, and they're never all the same. So somebody might have the same diagnosis, but that's not how we're going to treat them. So it took a lot of patience, it took a lot of learning, and it took a lot of communication amongst like your direct peers that were other orthotists, but great communication between physicians, physical therapists, other nurses, anybody in the healthcare community that might take care of these children. So you have to, one, dig in deep for diagnoses, understand how you're going to communicate as a team, and don't ever forget that it takes a young practitioner, maybe even a seasoned practitioner, to learn that there's a family dynamic here. Like, you have to be very conscious that you're also having a communication directly with the parents who are making decisions for their child. So having a parent interaction is quite important too in the field of pediatrics.
It's a really nice approach that you have, and a personal approach about it, and great insight for those in the field. How does Surestep specifically approach orthotic design for children?
This was very handy to me, right? So being flexible to be able to treat children with a myriad of diagnoses, and they all present with different types of gait dysfunction, let's say, you need to be very customized. Surestep helps get to treat patients with a very custom design. We can take a cast, take a scan, take measurements, do many different things to be able to help create a very specific device for children. Surestep can take that custom device and go a step further. We have very different designs to treat children specifically across different diagnoses and function. There's dynamic functions. We want the device to move with them, but stabilize them. Maybe that's not the right choice for a certain person, and we need more functional control of them. I need that device to offer more support back to the patient and maybe a little less freedom to the patient's movement. And then there's other times that we have to be very controlling of the motion and the biomechanics in the body, and we need to be very conscious of the alignment control that we have of them. So Surestep in a manner allows all these things to come together to treat a very, and I use this word interchangeably, a dynamic patient. And that's what you have in the pediatric population.
That's awesome. I think the customization is great. But what are like some strategies or technologies that you use to ensure these orthotic devices are both functional and comfortable for these kids?
This is the part that makes me come back day after day to treat specifically children. I look for their performance and I look for their verbal cues. I mean, you can be smart enough over time, you look for their nonverbal cues, but if you have an appropriately fitting device on a child and it allows them to have more stability, as soon as they realize that they're not trying to balance on, and I would use this analogy with parents, as soon as the children realize they're not trying to balance on slippery ice, you give them a device very custom to their body. It fits intimately on them. And all of a sudden they find out that they move from the ice to solid ground. They take off. They start running down the hallways. They start high-fiving. They end up talking to my staff at the front of the desk. Like they're already going out the door. They're telling their mom they want to go to the park around the block from my office. Like that tells me right there that I have comfort and I have a child that realizes, ooh, I had a hard time keeping up with my brother, my sister, my peers. Let me go test these things out and see what I can do. That right there tells me that I have something that is working well for them. That's a part of it. That's the thing that goes out the door, right? We can put designs on them. We can put different color straps. We can make them very individualized, and that allows the patient to buy in right there. But as soon as they know they're more capable, like, I can't wait to see you back and tell me a story about where you went on vacation and what you were able to do that you weren't able to do before. In conjunction with that, to make sure that they're really performing well, again, we're going to go back to the healthcare team communication. I want to hear from their physical therapist. I want to hear from their occupational therapist. I want to hear potentially from some school aides that they might have. What are they able to do now that they weren't able to do before? Or because we see these children develop over time, I want to know what they were able to learn to accomplish, and then they grow. Or the brace doesn't fit as well, and the skin starts to show signs, or the child becomes reluctant to want to wear them. They were wearing them now, they're not wearing them as much as they want to be. That tells me that I might have a fitting problem. They became uncomfortable, and they know that they're not performing as well, so they'd rather go without. So we use those type of cues. Those are great ones to learn, but in a sense that we all know that things don't fit. Like we look at skin, we use our clinical knowledge that we've learned over time to make good assessment on where we know the mechanics of the body are. But that's pretty rudimentary. That's pretty textbook. We have to teach people to do that, but it goes way farther than that. I need a kid or a child to come back to me in the office and high five me and tell me that they were able to do some crazy climbing on this trail they were able to go to and do on vacation that wasn't even going to be an option before they wore their braces.
Yeah, those interactions and like outcomes like that, I feel like that gets me stoked just as like a sales rep being in an office. So as a clinician, knowing you're responsible, like that's what you kind of do.
Yeah, and it seems like your use of the word dynamic is spot on, because not only are they a growing child, but they're growing mentally, they're growing emotionally, and then you have the parents that are changing dynamically with their child, and then the environment is changing. They're going to school. It's not like you're fitting somebody that is doing one static activity. It's pretty awesome, man. I'm just gonna piggyback your word dynamic and talk about some of the tools and materials. Are there some really dynamic new tools and materials out there that you're seeing really affect pediatric care? And are there some out there that you may know about that you might wish are more widely available?
This is a great question. I love this response. I actually just had this conversation with my Lyft driver taking me to the airport. And then I got him so pumped up about what we're capable of doing now. He's like, do you guys have any availability for like a technician job? And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. And it had to do with materials. I started in the field, plaster, fiberglass, polypropylene, copolymer, polyethylene. Like that was what we had. That's what we used. That's what we have at our disposal. Everybody learn how to use your toolbox, figure out and go from there. 20 years ago, Surestep developed a patented plastic. It has more flexibility, some dynamic rebound to it. It can move, it can deflect and come back to normal. Wow, that's really useful in pediatrics, right? You have a child, I'm going to put this brace on you, but I need you to go to the park and be careful. Yeah, as soon as you said those words, the first step, those are lost. Like they're climbing stuff, they're jumping off stuff, they're wanting to climb the tree, they're going jumping off the swing. Like I need something to move with them. Surestep has this dynamic plastic. Well, as technology advances so very, very quickly, things that were available to the aerospace industry, to the automotive industry are slowly filtered down to us, right? Plastics, composites. That's where the field is going. I feel in pediatrics, composite materials, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It provides structure for them when we need it. And it provides dynamic flexibility for whatever it is they want to do. Reach for an object, climb a stair, high five somebody, slide into a base, play football, like whatever sporting activity they want to do, we allow that device to move with them in life. And right, we only had this plastic. Don't go out in the snow for too long and come in, it might crack. We can't do that. Like I need something that is completely flexible with the life that they're going to live. So we are getting those type of composite devices and we can use those in AFOs. Like, right, we are going to use something like a spry step. It's a composite material. It has some fiberglass. It has some carbon fiber. It's a mix of those elements throughout the device and it works better for their body in motion. Awesome. I think 3D printing is going to bring us there too. It's just as we evolve, it prints in this one material, it prints in this other type of material. What happens when we start to blend those together? I have a little bit printed over here, I have a little bit printed over there. It's a little thick here, it's a little thinner there. It won't break over here, but man, it sure allows this child to go play tennis, go run with their friends. I can't believe it. I want to hear from a parent that they came back, they ran with their friends all day long. They used to only run in the morning for a couple hours. They were tired. They wanted to come in and sit down and take a break. Now I can't keep them in the house. That's what I see the material change in our lifetime happening. And it isn't that I'm going to see it 20 years from now. This stuff is 5 years ago. And in 5 more years, that's what we're going to see. It'll be digital. We'll dial it in on demand. Hey, I had this general idea for you to start with. She or he blew it out of the water. Okay, we got to change the formula. I'll make Anne's own Coke formula for her SMOs. These didn't work, man. John broke them. Yeah, he's kind of looking the same that he was before. Hey, let me concoct this in a little bit way that we give him a little more structure until he gets going. I think that's exactly, we're going to go like custom. We think we're custom in making it to their body. We're going to custom make to their body plus the materials in the device. That's coming in the future.
It's like not only are you having a custom recipe, but you have custom ingredients.
Yeah.
And those ingredients weren't there before, right? You just had to buy it off the shelf.
I love it. It was never available to us. It is, we are watching it come into our field right now. And what we're seeing that I think is exciting is you're starting to see orthotics and prosthetics talk together more, sharing materials, sharing ideas, sharing where we're going to go with this. And that I see that in terms of like what microprocessor knees did in prosthetics. And now you're applying it to KFOs with Agilic and bionic power. Like it's unbelievable. Hey, What happens if we share this technology back to orthotics? And you could put that device on a neuromuscular child that I would put in standard KFOs or an RGO, and it allows them to walk. They are doing things that they were not able to do, and it's very exciting, but they're very taxing because they can be heavy. We can't lighten the materials enough now. Man, if I can get those ingredients right, and I can give somebody more energy and power over time, this is going to work better. It's awesome. We're watching it happen before our very eyes right now.
That's cool. The material science side is always like one of my favorite to kind of listen in on. In addition to the new materials and like the custom mix of materials per patient, are there any other innovations or changes you'd like to see into the pediatric orthotic space in the next 5, 10 plus years?
I see that in like scanning technology, right? We would take a cast, hand modify it, and it was only somebody's artistic, scientific creativity that melted together to get to that outcome. And we were also limited by our ingredients, right? We were shopping in one store. This is all they had, and this is how I would make it work. The scanning technology is awesome. I have a digital representation of this body. I can make it in very different ways. I can modify it in very different ways. I can see it in 3D space. I believe in time, what we do in terms of our motion and our artistry, artificial intelligence is going to start learning that process, and we will use it as an adjunct to our artistic brain, right? We're one human trying to treat another human. I think that element and your expertise from your brain is primary. Artificial intelligence will say, look, hey, what happens if we look at it this way or that way, right? We forget that in a tunnel vision treatment of our child. Like, we have to talk to our peers to increase our knowledge base and our effectiveness in how we treat somebody. We might just be able to have the computer or software help us through that process. Like, think about this. I changed this. Would this work? No. And you start to learn together how to create a more usable long-term device. So CAD/CAM technology, scanning technology, artificial intelligence. And then, right, I just opened up Pandora's box in terms of like creativity. It's going to be hard to harness all that by just a few minds. I need the computer to help sort it and then tell me how to blend those ingredients. We get to that kind of a point. It's incredible. That information sharing that we have between each other as O&P professionals, a part of the healthcare team. Wow, we're always being told how we need to help treat this patient. I think with this information, we get to come forward to the healthcare team and show them what we have to offer to the field. We do this in computer-aided things. We do this in terms of composites, and we have this outcome in this customization for the patient. And this is what they are now able to do that we weren't able to do 20 or 30 years ago. I think we become more valuable to the O&P space and certainly the healthcare community at large.
That's awesome, man. I love your enthusiasm and just your passion for childcare and pediatrics. I wonder, you're talking about the next 5 to 10 years, and I just kind of want to follow up on what you were saying. Do you really think that we're going to see more, I guess, driven data and outcomes from all of this that you are speaking about with material changes and improvements and ingredient changes? Are we going to be able to measure this stuff and then put it into these parameters that you're talking about in the software and make changes on the fly, or really, I guess, just bolster what you've done and improve on it in a faster pace?
Absolutely. Because what did we do before? We would change those ingredients in our mind, do it by hand, and apply it to the patient. I pray that we are all good stewards of taking great notes, great individual notes, that I used this, I did it this way, I did it that way, in terms of having a data set over the course of someone's career and sharing that information, whether it be at one of our national shows, and hoping that it gets written down. We're talking about doing this stuff all in a computer. That data is saved, it's compiled somewhere, it's in there. We would certainly hope that the software would save all that information. And then we have friends now, right? The O&P space is fun. We're getting people that are coming in as data engineers in material science, like Hunter was talking about. Like, We need people to help us show these outcomes. Well, I believe we're finally doing something better and showing what the O&P community has to offer to the greater healthcare community in the United States and beyond, that people are interested in collecting that data, compiling that data, looking at the different ways that we can explain that data. It might mean something to one person, but it can also apply to someone else if we go in this direction. It's all in the computer. I think that this information stored and handled and delivered in the computer is going to allow us to have outcomes over time that we can really control. It's great. It's awesome.
It's almost like the Industrial Revolution, right? Progress just skyrockets after the Industrial Revolution, and all these material changes and software changes and AI and just our own brains are all now working together, and it's just going to be this like exponential growth. At least I hope it is, and that's what I feel like it's going to be. And you're surely telling me that it is. So I love it coming from an expert like you. But so what can you give, as far as advice to other clinicians that are just starting in pediatric, or, some of the best things you learned that you could share with us?
I had that question. I'm glad you asked. I had that question come to me yesterday, and I thought about it for a minute, and I was like, the first word that came to mind was patience. You want to have patience if you're specifically going to go into healthcare. You need to be patient to listen to what the problem is. You need to be patient to listen to solutions, different solutions that might be different from what you've been educated on or what you've done in the past or has always worked for you, those type of things. And let me just keep it in that segment of pediatrics. The patience is that you have to have a patient with children. They may not be cooperative sometimes. They might be extra cooperative. They may be telling you stuff that you want to hear. So you have to be patient with the child that's in front of you. That patience extends to the family. You have to be very patient with the parents. They are bringing someone to you that was perfect in their eyes, and something isn't quite perfect anymore, and they're coming to you for help. You happen to be in a space that is pretty understandable to them in biomechanics. Like, right, something's not working on their body. I'm going to give them something to help them do it better. They get and conceptualize the idea behind it, but they don't know how you're going to do it. And you have to be careful and very patient about how you explain to them and teach them what you're doing for their patient or for their child. That's huge. So it's patience for one, the child, the patient, patience for the parents to learn and understand what you're doing. And my gosh, have personal patience that you're going to have to take some time to learn how to do this well for your children that you would treat. Like, you're not going to do it day one, and day 30 isn't going to be any slicker than day one. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some years. And back to the idea of computer and information sharing, I think we can make this happen a whole lot faster than taking notes and going to a conference and hoping somebody shared their ideas and their details with us. So it's coming. Infinite amount of patience and an infinite amount of continual learning. You hear it when you come out of school, you got to be a continual learner. Wow, is it true if you want to keep doing better by your patients over time? You have to do both, patience and be a great learner.
I got one more question for you, and I'm going off script, Ellen, but we talked to other experts that fit scoliosis braces. And one thing that stood out to me was the difficulty in device adoption. And I imagine with pediatrics, device adoption can be challenging. What are some of the skills that you have, or I guess proven methods that you have to improve adoption rates?
Education. It goes right back to those. I'm glad we're linking these together. It goes back to education and patience. Depending on the age of the patient, you can choose how you're going to educate them. It might be in colors. It might be in design. It might be how they're going to appear to be similar to their peers, right? They're starting to visualize that they might look different in one way or the other, and they don't want to look like they have a healthcare condition. That's what we're at. As you get into those teenage years, now we're talking about have to really explain to the patient exactly what we're doing and why it's important to them when they're 40 years old. They do not understand that connection in that kind of gap. You got to tell them what it means to them at 16, at 20, at 25, at 30. You might get married, you may have children, you may be wanting to do this, you may be wanting to do that, and it might become difficult. It might become difficult that you have pain and you may not want to be able to continue, right? We look at these studies, they don't remember what their Cobb angle is. They don't remember what the device was. They don't remember what version of it was or how many that they got, but they remember and they're older if they have pain. So that's how we educate them, and we have to change into those times. The parents understand it right away, but they are dealing with a teenager. So it takes some time to shift your concentration. And I'm looking at the parents all the time as I'm making sure through their nonverbal communication, am I making an impact on that patient to understand where they want to go? And again, it's back to the philosophy of the orthotist to have patience and continual learning. What I know in terms of a device that might work for them to help control or correct their scoliosis, and it's the one that they should be wearing, but it's the one they can't wear. They don't adopt. I have to choose something better in my toolbox for that patient to have something to be adopted and used, because we know where we want to go in the end. We want them to be pain-free and a very functional adult.
Before we wrap up, Rob, is there anything else you'd like to share? Any final thoughts or advice for listeners, clinicians?
This is my plea to a young clinician, older clinician, middle of the road clinician, at the crossroads clinician. Should I stay? Should I go? Reach out to somebody. Talk to us. Talk to me. Call us. It isn't so hard anymore that wow, I wish I could talk to that person a little bit more to get a little bit more of a greater understanding. We're in the digital communication zone. You're going to text us. You're going to call us. You're going to send an email. You're going to use social media. Reach out to us. I would have loved to have been taught some of these things as a younger clinician and wondering what level I would have been able to do what I was able to do. Treat a patient, have a better conversation with somebody, learn what I do in a better and quicker manner. Reach out to us. Reach out to us. Somebody knows something to help you do what you do better. So in terms of pediatrics, I think that just kind of goes with the flow. We're here to help.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Rob, for your time. I know you're super busy and your phone is probably ringing with people calling to, speak with you already, but we really appreciate your time. Keep spreading the word, keep going into Lyft drivers and getting people excited about pediatric orthotics, because it really is a game changer. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rob, for your enthusiasm. And always, you always get me pumped up with whatever you're talking about in orthotics or devices or anything. It's just your enthusiasm is awesome.
I appreciate it. I don't really get a lot of time to be able to share that with anybody. And when you guys ask for that, I don't know, it just comes flowing from me. So happy to share. Thank you for inviting me.
To learn more about Surestep or to connect with Rob on LinkedIn, follow the link in our show notes.
Thank you for listening to the O&P Check-in, an SPS podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, be sure to leave a review and subscribe to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a question or topic suggestion? Email us at spspodcast@spsco.com. See you next time.